Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Bayou Bets. It is Monday. It is August 14th, and it is damn hot. I know that much. I'm Jim Derry, along with my friend Spencer the Guru Urquhart. Zoe Collinsworth is in the background, and everyone's going to tell me how wrong I am today. That's what's going to be today. The name of today's show. We're going to have a lot of fun with it, and let's start off. These are the things we'll be talking about today, amongst others. Of course, the New Orleans Saints, your New Orleans Saints, defeated the Kansas City Chiefs on a last-second field goal by some dude named Groupie. Derek Carr looked fantastic in his one drive. We're going to talk about that for sure. Running back Kendre Miller re-injures the same knee he injured at TCU. What kind of quandary are the Saints in at running back? And the AP polls, the first polls of the year in college football, are out. LSU is number 5. Tulane is number 24. Florida State is number 8. We've got a lot to talk about, including a couple other things that aren't on this list, and we're looking forward to it. So, everybody, by the way, we'll remind you before we get to our comments, if you would like to comment, if you have a comment, if you have a question for either one of us, maybe you have a comment for Zoe, whatever it is, you can go ahead and put it down in the comments section. We will put it on the screen just like Mr. Hortus is doing right now. Good afternoon, Mr. Hortus. Thank you for joining the show. And a reminder that Caesars Sportsbook is the official odds partner of bet.nola.com. And one last reminder, no matter where you are watching today's show, we would truly appreciate it if you went and subscribed to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. It helps us. It helps you. It helps everybody. It's a win-win situation, I promise you. All right, let's get to today's show. Spence, how are you this afternoon?
Oh, I'm doing good, Jim, and perfect timing. We just got breaking news as far as the Saints signing a veteran running back, Darrell Williams. All right, Saints just signed him, so got a little more clarity as far as the backfield with the Kendre Miller injury. So Darrell Williams and a guy that he's been around, should provide.
Where did he go to high school, Spence?
Somewhere in Louisiana, I'm guessing.
John Ehret High School.
John Ehret, okay.
He rushed for over 2,000 yards in his senior season at John Ehret High School, and I covered him. I was old then, and I'm old now. So, but he was an excellent running back in high school. He graduated the same year as Leonard Fournette and ended up going to LSU. So, yes, Jerry, your answer is just like Spencer said. The Saints have signed a new running back. So let's get right into it. In fact, you know what? I'm going to throw you a curveball. We're going to go with Kendre Miller first because of this. And to me, Spence, that means that most likely, if they're going to sign Darrell Williams, they are most likely out of the Kareem Hunt sweepstakes. Say that 3 times. Just say it 3 times. You don't need to say it 10. That is, to me, maybe he was a little bit out of the price range. Maybe they have other things in mind. Maybe they want to go spend money on their offensive line like they need to. Who knows? But that tells me that Kareem Hunt is out.
Oh, yeah. They're not signing Kareem Hunt now. They weren't going to sign more than one veteran running back. And now that they've got Darrell Williams, who has some good years with the Chiefs, and the guy that can still get it done. He's not a starter by any means, but he's a good depth piece, a good number 2. He'll have to be the number 2 first 3 weeks, most likely, with Kamara out and Kendre Miller not being up to speed because of this sprained knee. Even if he is ready for week 1, he's not going to be ready for a big workload. So it's going to be the Jamal Williams, Darrell Williams show early on, and should be decent enough to get the Saints through the first 3 weeks.
I guess what bothers me about that, and look, I don't have any problem with Darrell Williams. I think he's still a fine, serviceable second running back, kind of like along the lines of Mark Ingram, really. And I'm talking about Mark Ingram like 3-4 years ago, not Mark Ingram last year. I think that he's fine, but he's not really the complement to Jamal Williams that you'd like to see with Alvin Kamara out. To me, Kendre Miller, although he might not be able to catch passes out of the backfield as well as Kamara did, he was a little bit different from Jamal Williams. And to me, Darrell Williams is too much like Jamal Williams. So I guess that worries me a little bit. But again, you can never have enough depth at running back. I do like the signing. I just wish it were a little bit different kind of back.
I got you. The thing with Darrell Williams, I was just looking him up here. He can catch passes. In 2021, he was the Chiefs' third down back and caught 47 passes. So he's capable of that. So I think he could be a decent compliment because we know Jamal Williams is more of a big back. He's not a that great at catching passes, but Darrell can catch. I mean, 47, that's a hefty number for a running back.
Yeah, and that is good. That's better than I thought for sure. But to me, I don't know. I just thought had my hopes up, I guess, and I just know a lot of fans did too. I think Kareem Hunt would fit this system a little bit better, especially with Kamara being out for that first 3 weeks. I think he would have worked in a little bit better at that spot. But yeah, I didn't realize that he caught that many passes, so maybe he will be that kind of back.
Yeah, hopefully so, because it's just a 3-week fix. He's a guy that he's got a little age on him. He's they're 28, so he's not spring chicken anymore, but he's still got enough juice left to be decent, I'd say, for the start of the season.
Yeah, like I said, same class in high school as Leonard Fournette. He was at Arrett the same year as Leonard was at St. Augustine, and I'll tell you, man, we had some running backs in the area in 2013. I'm not kidding, man. It was insane. Around the entire metro area, it was running back haven back then. It was crazy. So, all right, well, there's your news, your breaking news. Again, Kendre Miller is supposed to be out. The word is that he's going to be out until just before the start of the regular season. And before we get to the news of the day and the game itself and how well Derek Carr looked and all the feel good stuff about Sunday's game, Spencer, one thing, first of all, I don't know if I believe the Saints. First off, we've talked about this for a long time now, and I just in the recent past talking about with Andrew Speed, I don't believe them about Andrew Speed. I think something's really wrong with Andrew Speed, and we're not here. And I've said that a bunch of times. Not going to go into that today. But so I have a hard time believing that Kendre Miller, he's just a sprained knee. He ought to be back by week 1. Well, it's the same knee that he sprained before. So what makes us believe that we think he's going to be back for week 1? And like you said, missing all this camp for a rookie is not a good thing. Darrell Williams better be ready to go because it might be a lot more than a 3-week thing.
I agree. I could see him going on the PUP list. I really do. I think the Merriweather kid who looked pretty good in the second half, he might start the year off as the 3rd running back, and they might just tell Kendre, look, just take your time with the rehab, put him on the pup, miss the first 6 weeks, and maybe by the second half he'll be ready to make an impact.
And the Saints have had a lot of luck with guys they find in the preseason and non-drafted free agents that they find to plug in at running back. I mean, Chris Ivory is a great example. Went on to have a decent career. Had his best years with the Saints, but I'll tell you, the Saints have definitely had some luck with that. So maybe they will find someone that'll go in there. And you're right. We'll see if he's ready to go. All right, Nola Gang, thanks for joining in the show. Let's get into the news of the day. Well, I guess it was the news of yesterday. The news of today is about the running back situation. The news of yesterday is the New Orleans Saints are off to a 1-0 start in preseason. I told you the other day I liked the Chiefs because I like that second-string Chiefs defensive line against the second-string offensive line of the Saints. But I didn't necessarily think the Saints would win the game. It also went over. I thought it would be under, so I was wrong on that. So I was 1-1 when it came to Saints-Chiefs. Spence, you got to like the fact that both quarterbacks, I thought Derek Carr and Winston both looked good yesterday.
Right, yeah, the offense was humming. The defense, the second-string defense has some concerns, but the first-team offense looked great. There was only one drive, but they looked like what I really liked about them was the tempo. I feel like the tempo was really flowing, which I hadn't seen a Saints offense flow like that since Drew Brees, and I feel like Derek Carr has got what it takes to lead that offense to being a lot better than it's been the past 2 years, because the fact is the past 2 years it's stunk.
There's no question about that. But I will say this. Let's be a little bit, let's temper our enthusiasm just a little bit. Look, if you want to get fired up about the Saints, great. You should always be optimistic as a fan, I guess is the way to put it. But, I actually was watching a news broadcast this morning. They asked the question, like legitimately asked the question, should Saints fans be getting their hotel rooms for Las Vegas? Are you insane?
I roll.
I mean, seriously, really. I mean, my eyes almost popped out of my head. I rolled them so hard. One drive from Derek Carr, and we're already talking about is he the. By the way, here are the stats for Andy Dalton from last year's preseason. If you want to get super hyped up, not that I'm trying to pee on your parade or anything. Andy Dalton in the preseason last year was 10 of 10 for 124 yards and a touchdown. How'd that work out?
Not too good.
So
That's like a 7-10. Yeah.
let's just chill a little bit. I will say this though, the offensive line, I still think, and I said it Friday, and I said it a couple times last week, that they're one major offensive line injury away from catastrophe, and I still feel that way. That being said, I thought the first string offensive line was outstanding yesterday, so that is a cause for hope for sure. But you got to get some more depth in. They're making these moves. They go sign a running back the day after Kendre Miller gets hurt. Well, that's great. I'm glad you did that. That's something that you need to do. But why wouldn't you go do it at offensive line?
I think they feel comfortable at Hurst at left guard, but
Okay,
I agree
that's
that they
fine.
need more depth. Yeah, because some of these guys, like we went over last week, are just kind of unknowns unless they feel better about them than we do. Like,
Unless they know something we don't know. I mean, maybe, Throckmorton can play all over, and that's great too. But still, you're talking about a position to where you have to have as much depth as possible, and you're not there right now.
Right. Yeah. If they put Pete on the PUP, I could see him then go and sign a guard. But I still think they're thinking that Pete will be ready week 1. But if they know he won't be, just make the call now. Quit playing games and all that. And just, if he's hurt, he's hurt bad. Put him on the PUP, sign someone, and get them ready so it doesn't end up a problem if another injury would pop up.
All right. Well, I've been praising the signing of Derek Carr for months, so I'm not trying to poo-poo anything that Derek Carr did. I think that he's head and shoulders ahead of anything the Saints have had. I'm just saying, don't get too excited over 1 week. That being said, I really like the way he kind of flipped the ball around. It's clear that he's trying to build a rapport with everyone on the team. It was nice to see Keith Kirkwood come back and make a big contribution yesterday, as well as A.T. Perry coming in right away, and looks like he might have a good chance to make this team.
Yeah, I loved what I saw from A.T. Perry yesterday because he was someone that I feel like a lot of people were forgetting about. Everyone's talking about, they brought in Brian Edwards,
right,
James Washington. I'm like, man, those guys, they've been around, man. I want to see what the rookies got. And sure enough, he outperformed them and had a couple of huge catches there. Had good chemistry with Jameis. Hopefully he can carry that over with Derek Carr, which I'm sure he will because Derek Carr is a more accurate quarterback than Jameis and also has a big arm. So, yeah, I feel like A.T. Perry, no, it's only one game, but to me, he basically solidified his roster spot there.
And Spence, with the injuries to Traquan Smith and Rashid Shaheed, you don't know how long they're going to be gone. You really got to like having Kirkwood, who's been with this team before, and Perry. And, you can never have enough depth at wide receiver, in my opinion.
Agreed. Yeah, Kirkwood should be good, too. I know he's a guy that Jeff Duncan's really high on. He feels like Kirkwood's basically a lock to make the team. And I'd probably agree with that because he's a veteran. And, Traquan is banged up right now along with Shaheed. So I could kind of see Perry being the backup to Shaheed, and then Kirkwood and Traquan kind of being those veteran presences there to complement Michael Thomas.
Well, Traquan's been around for a little while now too. It's hard,
right.
You don't realize how long. I think he's in his 5th or 6th year, and so
I think his 5th year. Yeah.
So I mean, you think of him kind of as young, but once you get in the 5th year, you're not really young anymore. Played with Drew Brees. He played in the no call game. I remember him distinctly from that game. So, but anyway. You got to have backup there, and I like what I see. I liked what I saw from Michael Thomas yesterday in the little bit that he played.
Yeah, he called a pass. He looked pretty good out there, and it was funny they were saying they were still doubling him and stuff. So it's that's good news for Olave. And then if Olave starts getting doubled, then it's good news for Michael Thomas. I mean, you can't double them both. So they're both out there. I know Olave was quiet yesterday, but we know he's going to get his. I'm not worried about him. I just really loved what I saw from Perry, because that tells me if Shaheed's injury lingers, that Perry he might be able to start in 3 wide sets from the get-go. And that's
Perry's
exciting.
the closest thing we got to Derry on this team, so I'm all for it. I can just take that little P and move it down and to make it look like it. No, Zoe's shaking her head. No, doesn't work. All right,
A.T. Derry.
A.T. Derry. It's worth a try. And before we turn off subjects here, I want to talk about Jimmy Graham. Look, he wasn't in very long yesterday. I know the fans were getting excited, but hey, who knows? Maybe he can give the Saints a little depth. I'm definitely not putting it out of the realm of possibility that he makes the team, but I thought it was interesting when he came in. He didn't come in until middle of the second quarter. Was able to catch one pass, I believe. But look, if he can bring you depth at tight end behind Morrow and behind Jawan Johnson, who looks like a monster already, good for him.
Yeah, he caught the pass there. Crowd went wild, so it's exciting to see him back. I don't think he'll have the kind of impact that some are thinking, but
might be better than Troutman, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, Troutman. Yeah, Sean Payton can have fun with Troutman trying to get anything out of that. So, yeah, I think Jimmy Graham's another one that wasn't a whole lot, but I think he's pretty much solidifying his roster spot. And
I just brought that up because I know how big of a fan you are of Adam Troutman.
I was when they drafted him.
But yeah, no, I'm talking about last year. You were giving him a little grief.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, because he ticked me off because I was really high on him, and then it was a bust, and it made me look bad because I was hyping him up to some buddies, and then they get on like, oh, what's happened with Adam Troutman?
If he didn't have those drops against Tampa Bay, I think maybe they would have ended up winning that game, but who knows? All right, your dad's in here saying, what about DL? What do you think about defensive line? I actually thought I liked what I saw yesterday. I mean, you got to remember, well, and I know Mahomes was only in there for a little bit, but this kid Buechele, I mean, was he trying to do his best Patrick Mahomes imitation yesterday?
I mean, yeah, like he just, because the thing that concerned me more so than the D-line, I thought the D-line did his job for the most part, but the secondary, I mean, because the Chiefs had those deep balls, and Richie James, I was watching it, the one-on-one matchup, Alontae Taylor and Richie James was like the fifth receiver for Chiefs was dusting Alontae Taylor, and that's concerning. I mean, Alontae Taylor is a guy that was in the mix to be the number 2 corner, but after yesterday, he's going to be the number 4 probably. I mean, Adebo and Roby, I would think, are going to start over him because he looked bad out there. I know it's just one game, but man, he was getting dusted. Like, I mean, just 2 in a row that he wasn't even close.
We're going to talk a little bit more about NFL preseason in just a little bit, but we want to switch gears and talk about LSU and college football for just a few minutes here. The initial AP Top 25 poll came out this morning, and there it is. LSU is number 5. They are just behind Alabama. I think they're going to creep their way into the top 4 because, first of all, Spence, I think the winner of that Florida State LSU game will be in the top 4 when all is said and done. What a colossal matchup that now is because those two are meeting so early. I thought Florida State would be in the top 5 to start the season. They are at number 8, and I think it's deserved.
Yeah, that's a fair list. I tell you what, if LSU wins week 1, then Alabama would get upset by Texas week 2. Then that'll flip flop. That'll flip flop for sure. I would think.
I think you could see them jump up into the number 2 or number 3 spot.
Yeah, because Alabama is like outside of Texas, their non-SEC is a joke. So it's like they always try to duck people. That's the classic Nick Saban, just schedule Little Sisters of the Poor so they don't have to be challenged. And then once they usually play, like a Texas, and they have one somewhat challenging non-conference game. The rest are just ridiculously easy. But yeah, LSU is in good position. Jaden Daniels, it's been a quiet camp. That's a good thing, I'd say. And Malik Neighbors, Como High, it ended up Southside High grad from Lafayette. I covered him back then. He's
Sharks,
looking good, should be the number 1 receiver. Yeah, he didn't get to play with them, though. He was ruled ineligible his senior year. But he's tearing it up now at LSU. And, yeah, I think the offense is looking good. They just got to get the running game sewed up, a few things on defense. And, yeah, they should be able to compete with the best
I think that is, what is it, September the 2nd or September the 3rd, LSU FSU. I know it's September must be
September the 3rd, Sunday.
September the 3rd is a Sunday. Okay, the day before Labor Day. There it is. It's going to be. It is in where is that game? I know it's in Florida. It's not in Tallahassee, is it?
Yeah, it's a neutral site, Orlando.
Neutral site, is it Orlando? Okay, I know it's in Florida, being played in Florida, but it's not in Tallahassee. I know it's at a neutral site, kind of like the Superdome, the neutral site for LSU. Speaking of New Orleans football, Tulane at number 24. I'm kind of surprised they were that low, Spencer. I don't necessarily think they ought to be in the top 10. They finished number 9 last year, but I thought 24 was a bit low. I would have voted them if I had a vote, I'd have put them in the top 20, somewhere around 17 or 18, somewhere around there.
Yeah, they were one of the schools like it showed like who rose, who fell. in the AP rankings. LSU is one of the biggest risers, up 11 spots. Texas, a big riser, up 14. But as far as fallers, the only school that fell as much as Tulane was TCU. Both fell 15 spots from the end of season ranking last year. So, yeah, they not really feeling the wave. And I kind of understand why, because these Power 5 teams ahead of them, this all have, I feel like, more upside. But
Right.
I see your point as far as they probably should have gotten a little more respect on their name.
I just didn't think they had that much. They didn't have that much loss, and Michael Pratt is back. So I mean,
right?
You have your quarterback back in the room. You lose Tajay Spears. I get that, but Tulane is pretty deep at running back, and they have a lot of their running backs coming in. Plus, I think they have a transfer coming over. They have Iverson Celestine, who freshman last year, who played quite a bit from Fontainebleau High, is going to be back as a sophomore. I think they have plenty in the backfield. So, and they didn't lose all that much elsewhere. I think Tulane is in good shape to win their conference and make a splash. So I think Tulane has a chance to be like a 10-1 kind of team. I really do. I mean, I'm not, or 10-2, I guess. Not saying that they're going to be that good, but I think they have a really good shot at it. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, it's possible. The other thing I noticed was I feel like a lot of these SEC schools were a little lower than I expected. Like Texas A&M, I thought would have been top 20, maybe even Ole Miss too.
I think it's because of the way they finished last year.
Yeah. Tennessee, I feel like it's a top 10 team. They're only at number 12. So then,
quarterback.
And the same with Bama. Bama a lot of times 2 or 3, and then number 4. So we know Georgia's going to still do their thing. We know that, but a lot of these other schools are. There's going to be some that break out. Like Texas A&M's one that I'm high on this year. I'm buying them. We'll see if Jimbo chokes again. I agree with you. But I think this year they've got too much talent.
I'm buying A&M, but I'm selling Ole Miss and Alabama. I don't think Ole Miss is nearly as good as everyone thinks they're going to be. And I think the Alabama, and I said it before, I think this is the year that Bama takes a step back. And I think this is my shocker of the year. This is Nick Saban's last year. I know he just signed an extension not too long ago, but I really think that Nick Saban is going to be gone after this year. I don't think he's going to want to stick around. I think he's 72, 73 years old. I'm not sure that he's going to want to stick around and watch what's going to happen in Alabama, because unless you can bring in a whole new class, and if you lose to Georgia again, man, there's only so much you can take of losing to the same team. They don't like being number 1. So Saban is 71. So I was close. I could see it being it. In fact, he's older than I think Bear was when Bear was forced out at Alabama back in 82, I believe was Bear Bryant's last year. So we shall see. Before we move on to our rants of the day, we had an interesting little clip that Robert Young found for us. Here's a little picture for you. Photo courtesy of Jacqueline Fugate, I guess is how you say it, on Twitter via the New York Post. Recently during the Women's World Cup, to show you how popular it was, I guess, and maybe I'm the one that's wrong, but everyone I can't remember what airline this was. Do you remember what airline it was, Spencer? I'm sure Zoe remembers. She's probably typing it in right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Anyway, on this plane back to America, across the Atlantic, they were watching. Everyone was watching the U.S. Women's World Cup except for this one guy here at the top who was watching Lord of the Rings. I mean, insane. That's how big. So it must be me, Spencer. It's got to be me. I mean, really, Women's World Cup has got to be bigger than I give it any credit for. You know what I mean?
Around the world, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm guessing this was an international flight, because I
think it was a flight to America. I think it was a flight back to New York City. It was an Emirates flight. Okay. United, maybe they were going to the UAE. I don't know where they were going.
Well, no, that's a big airline. That's a big, so it's I think it's one of those things where
wasn't it Qantas? Qantas.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was probably one of those things. Yeah, outside of like in Europe, I mean, yeah, Women's World Cup's huge. Where if the U.S. was still in it, I feel like there'd be more buzz. But even so, it's just with football starting up, it's just kind of bad timing. Like I feel like wasn't the men's more like, didn't it happen like earlier in the summer, if I remember right? Where the women's, I feel like they started later, and then it kind of bleeds into the football. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just kind of the vibe.
Zoe says she thinks they were going to Australia because the Aussie women's national
Yeah,
team
that would
won.
make sense. Yeah, sure. It's just, I mean, it's always one of those things. If your team's still in it, you're gonna be more into it.
I think even if the U.S. women were still in it, I wouldn't have been watching Lord of the Rings or whatever, but I would have been watching something else. Let's put it that way. I don't know what I've been watching. I've been watching some bad movie, most
spring
likely.
football highlights.
Yeah, well, I spent the whole, I don't know what it was, but I'm a binge. I don't know about you, but I'm a binge watcher. I spent this weekend, actually started like maybe Thursday night or Friday night. I can't remember what night, but I watched the entire 1883 series. I don't know if you're into Yellowstone or not.
Oh, my
But,
dad loves that show. I'm
well,
not into it, but he loves
okay,
it.
well, Yellowstone's phenomenal, but 1883, it was 10 episodes of complete. You want to worry about the psyche of the dude who wrote this, Taylor Sheridan, because, man, was it sad. I mean, it was 10 hours of sadness, but it was awesome. I mean, it was really very well written, but man, I mean, you end up like you want to think about hiding the pills in the medicine cabinet after you finish watching that. All right, let's move on to our rants before someone watching the show moves on to their medicine cabinets. We're going to start off with you, Spencer, and today your rant is on betting throughout the NFL preseason, which we've kind of said before, don't do it.
Yeah, it's just not worth it because the amount of scenarios and who's gonna play, who's not gonna play, it's just merciless because you just get to the point where you don't know anything. You really don't. It's like just throwing darts from 100 feet away. So it's just like focus on betting futures instead, at least for me, because I like betting futures because you can study the trends and you feel like you at least have some knowledge of what's going to happen over a full season. You get a much larger sample size. You can keep track of it for several months, where with this, it's just, I get of wanting a quick fix, but it's like, if you just want a thing to bet quick, I mean, baseball, at least if you bet baseball, at least you know they're trying. Like tonight, our best bet, the Braves Yankees. I mean, those are two teams that, you know, are looking to win, and you can kind of study the trends from what's been going on the past few months. So preseason football is just, unless you like want to ride the Ravens money line train, that streak's going on for over, I think it's 24 games now. But outside of that, we don't know.
I've bet on it. It'll end.
Stay away. Yeah, we'll bet on it. We'll bet on it week 2.
We'll make it our best bet this week, and it'll end in a real quick hurry. I'm with you. I've said it forever, and I try to tell my son this. Oh, I got such and such. I got such and. Well, you know what? You got lucky. I mean, betting on the preseason is straight out luck. I don't care what anyone says. You can have any expert on the planet tell you, well, they know so-and-so is going to play for I don't care who plays what for a quarter or whatever. I mean, the only reason why I said if you're going to dabble and bet against the Saints the other day, which I really kind of got lucky to get right, because if they get the 2-point conversion, who knows? But I just think that betting on preseason football is just silly. Zach Ewing is in the house.
I wonder if Zach played the preseason.
He worries about the psyche of the 1880. He worries about my psyche. I don't. Man, what's going on? That hurts my feelings. Can't believe Zach said something like that. Moving on. All right. I don't know if you've heard about this earlier today, but Michael Orr is a little upset because he's figuring out that his adoption was a lie. If it took him 20 years to figure out that his adoption was a lie, I think he's got bigger problems than worrying about who was getting the money from the blind side. That's just my opinion. So, Michael, you were a fantastic offensive lineman, both in college and in the pros, but I always have a problem with someone who comes out with something. Well, they made all my money, all my royalties. They took them. Well, are you just figuring this out now? I mean, why? So, Spencer, why should it take this long for Michael Orr to figure out he's getting kind of hosed?
Yeah, that's the thing that's kind of strange about it, is the timing. But read more about it. It sounds like he did get hosed. So I guess it's one of those things, better late than never, because he thought he was being adopted, where in reality it was the conservatorship. If I don't know if I said that right, but it's
conservatorship. That is how you say it.
Okay, yeah, and it's with that, it's like he doesn't really have control of his affairs. Where in the other way, it's like once you become of legal age, you do have control your affairs. So it just that this seems kind of fishy. And then reading more about it with the family, it was like they kind of, once they saw he was becoming this big football star, they were real willing to take him in and stuff. So you never want to see someone get hosed like this. I know the timing's kind of wonky on his part, but if there's justice to be had, I hope he has it.
Zoe's taking up for him, and she's saying 2016 is when he retired, and it's been investigated for 7 years. And my response is horse hockey. It just doesn't take 7 years for you to come out and say that your adopted parents who took you off the streets and gave you a home, whether they officially adopted you or conservative, they had no idea that Michael Orr was going to be some professional athlete. Get the hell out of here. And I'm talking to all of you who are going to take his side. I'm sorry. Again, I think he was a great player. It's a wonderful and phenomenal story. And his adoptive conservatorship parents may be total jerkwads. But that doesn't mean it's Michael Orr just finding this out now makes it any better. It's kind of goofy, in my opinion. But I'm goofy. So there you go.
Yeah, we'll see how it ends up. Like I said.
By the way, my question is another question along this line is, does that mean that Sandra Bullock's going to get sued too, and Tim McGraw? I mean, they're like his actor parents. So Zoe says she thinks not, probably not.
Another thing that was interesting about it was he was upset that in the movie he's portrayed as being like dumb or whatever. Like
now that I can understand. But that you take up with the writers. I think that he should have a problem with that, and he probably said that right when he saw the movie for the first time. And I don't blame him for that. So I agree with that part of it. But don't come out and start talking about the people who gave you a house and a home for however many years and helped build you to where you got, and then afterwards. I mean, what are we talking about here? I know what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about ending the show. You got any final ideas for today? I mean, I know you're excited about you were really excited about the Darrell Williams coming to New Orleans back home.
Yeah, I'm just relieved that it's settled. I was worried that I think Zeke signed the day too. I'm glad it's not.
I didn't see that. Where did Zeke sign?
The Patriots.
Really?
Patriots. Okay. Yeah. Bill
Belichick. Kareem Hunt visited Minnesota today. Kareem Hunt.
Right. That's not official yet, but that could end up official because I've been on record with fantasy on my fantasy take saying I don't really trust Alexander Madison. So, I mean, Ramondre Stevenson might take a little bit of hit with Zeke there, but he'll still be the lead guy.
Sure.
Good thing what the Saints did though is it solidifies it. It clears it up. We don't have this hanging over us about, who's going to be the other running back while Kamara's suspended. Well, now we know. And Kendre Miller can take his time. And I'll say it again. I think he starts off on the PUP list. I think they give him extra time to heal.
I agree with you. We'll see how it goes. But they better sign another lineman, an O-lineman. That's what they really need to do. How many times do we have to say it? I don't care. Even if Andres Pete is healthy and I turn out to be completely wrong, which I'm not going to be wrong. They're lying. I'm telling you right now, they're lying. Andres Pete will not be ready for week 1. Watch what I tell you. It's been over 2 weeks now. He's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with him, Derry. What are you talking about? We're 2 weeks into this thing. Still don't know anything. Somebody tell me something. You know what? I'm going to tell you right now. We're going to be back on Thursday, whether you like it or not. All right? Spencer, you're coming with me. Who's coming with me? Zoe, you coming with me? She said no. I guess she really didn't. She did not like my Michael Orr argument at all. Well, guess what? Subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel, and you'll find out when we're back. But I'm telling you right now, Thursday at 4 o'clock, me, Spencer, maybe Zoe, who knows? Might be a big, fun party. Don't miss it. See you on Thursday. Peace and love, my friends.